introduction of commissioners and guests. I'm Gerald Lauber from Topeka.
Aaron Ryder from Columbus.
Emmerich Cross, Kansas City.
Lauren Quayle Sill, Hutchison.
Warren Gefeller, Russell.
Bill Escarino, Garden City.
Not hearing any sound.
All right. Let's open the meeting with the discussion of the minutes.
We're not going to pass the April minutes at this meeting. We're going to wait until June.
All right. This is also the time that that if we don't have the meeting, we'll have any comment on non-agenda items. I don't see anybody on that's going to have very much. So just a second.
Yeah, I might ask Jason and Nadia, do you see anybody with hands raised?
If anybody in the public wants to make a comment, go ahead and use the raise hand function on the app down. I believe it's on the bottom or on the top, whichever tool bar on your screen is, and use that and we'll get you called, or just chat directly with Nadia or I, and we'll get you called on.
Is there any raise hand function?
Looks like we got Thomas Schmidt. I'll go ahead and unmute him.
Okay.
Let me get to the top of the list here. There you go, Thomas. Should be.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, hey, I'm with WIW 13 News here in Topeka, sitting in on the meeting. I don't have a list of the agenda today, so someone can tell me if this is on there or not. But the biggest question we have today is about the new lifetime license that came about with kids under 5 being able to go and get these licenses now at a reduced rate. Is this the time to bring that up, or should we wait till afterwards?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
I will mention that Dan Riley's going to cover that in just a couple minutes.
Okay.
You want to wait till we cover it then?
I can wait a little bit if that's fine. Yeah.
All right, it won't take too long, I don't think.
Thank you.
Glad you're on at the meeting. I guess we'll move into the general discussion, which is the amount of fees. Dan Riley.
Okay. And in terms of giving the background on the whole issue, in terms of the Kansas kid licenses, I might tap the secretary on the shoulder also and ask him if he would like to give kind of the broad perspective. The two items that I have on the agenda to talk about are regulations that are going to be required to be changed to accommodate that new license. And I'll go ahead and do that. KAR 115-9-3 is the regulation that provides a waiver of the requirement to have the hunter education certificate in hand prior to purchasing a license. And that regulation establishes that in the case of a lifetime license, that requirement is put on hold until that individual decides to actually hunt with the license, and then the certificate's required to be in possession. So the simple amendment that we're proposing to make to 115-9-3 is just to include the Kansas kids license with the other lifetime licenses there. And I don't know if anybody has any questions about that specific regulatory change that I can take at this point.
Why don't this be a good time for Mr. Schmidt to ask what questions he may have?
Okay.
Oh, all righty. Well, we were just basically looking for clarification. There seems to be a lot of, we put the story on our Facebook page when it first came out, when the decision was first made to do that. And there were a lot of questions from people in the comment section about just misunderstanding what it was. Like, does this mean that kids of 5 or younger are now going to be going out with guns, on their own, going hunting? I mean, obviously, it's probably not what it is. Maybe just clarify a little bit more about that. This is just a reduced rate for the lifetime license fishing and hunting for that
Right.
age group.
Yep, Mr. Chair, I can address that if that's all right with you.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, so this is Brad Lovell, Secretary from Topeka. Right, this is really an aspirational kind of a regulation that encourages adults to purchase lifetime licenses for very young kids who aren't old enough to hunt yet. Certainly not even close to that. But the idea is that they would purchase it in hopes that that child would be brought along and develop an interest in the outdoors and in hunting, and that later on, they would go through hunter safety and be mentored in order to, be good hunters and enjoy the outdoors. So that's the idea.
In my case, I bought, as my grandchildren were born, as soon as I think the rule was 6 months old, I bought them a lifetime license just to buy it now. I would have been better off with this type of arrangement because I paid a higher price. But that, having said that, it does give an opportunity for people to have the investment made, and hopefully we can use it. It will assist us in recruitment of more hunters and anglers.
Right.
That's kind of one of the other questions I had, if I can speak now, would be what was kind of the incentives for providing the reduced rate for that specific age group? Was it just financial incentive or to get higher interest in hunting in Kansas?
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, I can address that. I was one of the ones in conversation with the people that were proposing this bill, and that was clearly their intent, was to foster a greater interest and provide that incentive, as you mentioned, for obviously the child isn't going to have an understanding for what this is, particularly at those very young ages, but it is like a paying forward, an investment by that older adult that hopefully translates into that mentoring that we know is so important to help kids be interested and feel comfortable in the outdoors and enjoy them just like we grown-ups do. So that's the idea behind it. Exactly.
Yeah, it was not our initiative, but we're comfortable with it and we're pleased to go along with it. And I think there was a thought that this would enable more people to, like I say, get involved. And that's what we have. It came by way of a statute rather than our regulation. So that's what we have today, and we're going to move forward and hope it's beneficial.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Chair, one more comment I might make just for the benefit of Mr. Schmidt. In general, states are not crazy about lifetime licenses because we generate our funds in this state, not every state, but certainly in Kansas, not from tax monies, but from license fees that our anglers and hunters pay. And so we take that money and leverage federal money that's kept in DC from excise taxes on hunting and fishing supplies. And so we have to leverage enough money here to raise enough money to leverage that federal money. And the federal government has a requirement that there be at least a minimum amount per year that a licensed buyer pays. So we have to do the math and divide up a lifetime license fee by the number of years that person may hunt. And then we can leverage that for that federal money. The risk is very few things, I think, would people be willing to speculate for the next 75 years that they know what the price will be. That's essentially what we're doing with this. If the prices rise too high, that federal match requirement rises too high, then all of a sudden we can no longer use these fees to get that federal money. So that's the risk that we take. Still, though, we understand that the intention of this bill, the intention was good, and And when people want to invest this in small children, we think that's great. And so as Chairman Lauber said, we're ready to support it.
Okay, I think that covers everything I had. Thank you
All right.
both.
Well, thank you for your participation.
Anytime.
All right. I think that concludes our general discussion items, doesn't it, Dan?
I've got one more regulation just to briefly mention, and that is the fee regulation that was also impacted and that we're proposing a change to also to accommodate the kids Kansas license. And basically, as everyone's probably familiar with, there are two age brackets, 5 years of age or younger. And that one is set at $300 in the regulation, which is a statutory cap that was in the legislation. And the other bracket is 6 through 7 years of age. And that one would be set at $500 in the regulation, which is also the statutory cap. And Mr. Chair, that's all that I've got on that issue.
Okay, and that will be voted on at the next meeting.
It'll be somewhere down the road. It's just in the process now. So it won't be voted on today, probably not in June, but it'll be coming up shortly, sometime this fall.
Are there any questions for Dan?
Yeah, Commissioner Ryder, check in when this takes effect. It says it takes effect upon publication. Can people start to buy those now, or where are we with the licensing?
Well, the upon publication relates to the legislation itself. That's the statute. So it has not yet been published. So it is not in effect at this time. Typically that happens sometime around the 1st of July, although that date isn't set in stone either. And we need to have the regulation in place for the licensing process to be functional. So it's kind of a two-parter in terms of the process. We didn't wait for the statute to take effect before we started the regulation process, because as everyone knows, that takes a considerable amount of time to happen. So we've got the regulation in the works at this time, so that hopefully we'll have everything in place to have those licenses available sometime summertime or thereabouts.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I might comment on that if I could. Brad Lovelace, Secretary. We did have this discussion with the legislature, and their initial language was upon publication. We told them, hey, we've got some regulations to set into place, like Dan just mentioned, some work to do administratively to put everything together and have this process, working, smoothly like we and our customers expect. The legislature, and so we proposed putting the effective date out some months in the future. They said, look, we understand you won't have everything up and running at the start, but still we'd like to stick with our effective upon publication language. And so they stuck with that, knowing that it will take a little bit for us to get all the pieces and parts working to make this effective. The one thing I might mention was a sensitivity was, what if a child was about to turn 6 and then become ineligible? Well, then they extended the regulation up to 6 to include 6 and 7. So the same question applies. What if a child's about to turn 8? And so we assured the legislature that when this regulation gets published, we will be glad to start taking the applications. And if we don't have all our administrative functions in place prior to as of that date, we will not let kids who turn 8 after that date be impaired by this. We'll still include them in this if they apply while they're still up to 7. So that's how we're going to cover that. And we'll just be working as quickly as we can, Commissioner Ryder, to get all those pieces in place.
Any other questions for Dan or for Secretary Lovelace? Well, if not, now we go to the public hearing, to which we will vote. Is Levi here? Hi, Levi.
Yep, I'm here.
All All right, let's talk about KAR 15-25-9.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Levi Jaster, Emporia, Kansas. This regulation sets the general season dates for statewide seasons for this coming year. And so those will be archery season September 12th, 2022 through December 31st. And then archery permits are also, valid during our whitetail antlerless season. The urban antlerless season too will also be January 23rd through January 31st of 2023. The firearm season then is November 30th, 2022 through December 11th. The pre-rut firearm antlerless whitetail deer only season is October 8th through October 10th of 2022. The muzzleloader season is September 12th through September 25th of 2022. The season for designated persons, or the youth season, is September 3rd through September 11th of 2022. And then we have 3 extended firearm seasons in units 6, 8, 9, 10, and 17. That season will be January 1st of 2023 through January 8th, 2023. In units 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 11, 14, and 16. The season will be January 1st, 2023 through January 15th. And then in units 10A, which is the Fort Leavenworth unit, unit 12, 13, 15, and 19 will be January 1st through January 22nd, 2023. And with this also, an individual may get up to 5 antlerless whitetail deer permits. And the first one is valid statewide except in unit 18. And then the 4 additional permits are valid in units 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 10A, which is the Leavenworth subunit, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and then unit 19, the urban unit, except on lands managed by the department. These are only for lands not managed by the department, except for Barron, Stick, and Elk City wildlife areas. That is would be allowed. So that is the gist of this regulation and what our seasons will be for statewide deer next year.
Does anybody have any questions for Levi? Any questions from the audience? Well, I need a motion that we approve this.
I'll move. Commissioner Gefeller.
Commissioner Sill, second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion from either the commission or the public? Well, and Sheila, will you call the question?
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute. Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino,
He's muted.
Trying to get him unmuted now. Oh, wrong person.
Yes.
okay. Commissioner Gefeller,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sill,
Yes.
Commissioner Sporer is not present, correct?
I didn't see him on there.
Okay, Commissioner Lauber,
Yes.
pass 6-0.
All right. And a meeting would not be complete without Matt Peak. So he's going to discuss KAR 115-27-7.
Yeah, 25-7. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. The unit boundaries for pronghorn are defined in KR 115.4.6, and units 2, 17, and 18 are open to hunting. The season structure, dates, and permit types that we're proposing today are standard relative to recent years. But for archery, the proposed dates are September 24 through October 2 of 2022. And then archery season reopens October 15 through 31. Archery permits are valid in all 3 units, and unlimited permits are available to both residents and non-residents. The proposed season dates for firearm are October 7 through 10 of 2022. These permits are limited to residents, and we're proposing 88 permits for Unit 2, 32 for Unit 17, and 4 for Unit 18. And then for the muzzleloader season, the proposed dates are October 3 through 10. The permits are limited to residents only, the same as the firearm permits. And we're proposing 24 permits in Unit 2, 8 permits in Unit 17, and 4 permits in Unit 18. For the limited firearm and muzzleloader permits, this is similar to last year, with the only change being the reduction of 2 Unit 18 firearm permits. The only other, so that's kind of the completion of the regulation. I did also want to mention that you may recall the other discussion about pronghorn hunting was in regards to 115.4-11. That regulation wasn't submitted at the same time as this one was. And that was also, I would say, the regulation that would prevent hunters from being able to apply for a limited draw permit or buy a preference points for a limited draw permit and then get an archery permit the same year. And so that change is still in the process, and it will be voted on at a future meeting, but it won't go into effect this year. So with that, I'll turn this back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Are there any questions for Matt from the public or from the commission? All right. I'd like a motion for approval.
Commissioner Ryder, move to approve.
Commissioner Escarino, second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Okay, Sheila.
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino,
Yes.
Commissioner Gefeller,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sill,
yes,
Commissioner Lauber,
Yes.
pass 6-0.
All right. Matt has another one, KR 115.25.8.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is elk open season bag limits and permits. The unit boundaries for elk are defined in KAR 115.4.6B, and units 2 and 3 are open to hunting, with unit 2 being the area that the small unit that encompasses the Fort Riley unit. And then unit 3 is the bulk of the remainder of the state, with the exception of the Cimarron National Grasslands. The proposed archery season dates for elk are September 1 through December 31 of 2022, and units 2 and 3 outside of Fort Riley. And on Fort Riley, which is subunit 2A, the proposed archery dates are September 1 through 30. The proposed firearm season dates off of Fort Riley are August 1 through 31, November 30 through December 11, which overlaps with the firearm deer season. And then the elk season reopens January 1 through March 15th of 2023. and that was all off of Fort Riley. On Fort Riley, the firearm season dates are October 1 through December 31, with the month of October belonging to a first segment. November is the second segment, and December is the third segment. The muzzleloader season dates, both on and off Fort Riley, are September 1 through 30. Limited quota either sex elk permits are valid during any open season, and we're proposing 12 of those be authorized. And then limited quota antlerless only elk permits are valid during any open season, except that only 1/3 of them are valid during each of the 3 one-month segments on Fort Riley. We're proposing 18 of those be allocated. And so you've got 6 during October, 6 during November, and 6 during December on the fort. The elk permits are available only to Kansas residents, and limited quota permit applications are separated into military and non-military applicants. So they're basically weighted to give military applicants a little better chance of drawing on Fort Riley. And then an unlimited number of hunt-owned land, antlerless only, and either sex permits are authorized in units 2 and 3, and an unlimited number of general resident and landowner tenant antlerless only and either sex permits are authorized in unit 3. So those are the over-the-counter permits that people can buy outside of the Fort Riley unit that general residents can get. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll turn this back over to you.
Is that more permits than we'd authorized last year?
No, we've been at 12 any elk and 18 antlerless elk permits for several years now.
All right. Are there any questions for Matt from the public or from the commission? Well, could I have a motion?
Move to approve Commissioner Cross.
Second, Commissioner Gaffeler.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve KAR 115-25-8. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Sheila?
Commissioner Cross,
Yes.
Commissioner Escarino,
Yes.
Commissioner Gaffeler,
Yes.
Commissioner Ryder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sill,
yes,
Commissioner Lauber.
Yes.
Pass 6-0.
All right. That concludes all the items on today's agenda. The chairman apologizes again that he lost track of time and is appreciative of a little nudge with a text from Secretary Lovelace. So I appreciate that. If there isn't any more business to come before the group, then I'm going to propose adjournment. All right. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Have a good
All
weekend.
right. Bye.